So let's get started here. We're here tonight for the City of Littleton's Downtown Neighborhood Plan, and the purpose of this is a public hearing to consider the adoption of the proposed downtown area plan as an actual element of the city's comprehensive plan. So why did we develop a plan? We wanted to anticipate changes in our community. We wanted to preserve and enhance what is valuable to our community. We also want to improve the stability and reduce uncertainty for the downtown area. And we wanted to encourage growth appropriate for the area. And then we wanted to be able to respond and react to the changes that may impact the downtown area within the next 20 years. The City Council asked the Planning Commission to develop a neighborhood plan for the downtown area, and then the Planning Commission evaluated the existing comprehensive plan. We went through extensive development scenarios and case studies for the whole downtown area. We looked at boundaries, and we extensively debated all the boundaries. What should the boundaries be in the downtown area plan? And we also looked at the heights of existing and future buildings in the downtown area. We had extensive public outreach. We sent out 27,000 surveys. We held an open house at Hudson Gardens. We had focus group meetings with downtown merchants, property owners, and retailers. And we also interviewed any kind of stakeholders we could find in the downtown area. So the plan is organized by a vision, a framework, planning principles, goals, policies, and implementation strategies. Now, Craig Coronado is going to be addressing the vision, the framework, and planning principles, and Jenny Renville is going to be addressing the goals, policies, and implementation strategy. So we have a short presentation for you to kind of go over some of the main points that we think are in the Downtown Area Comprehensive Plan. So, Craig?
Thank you, Linda, and good evening. Thanks for coming out for this. Can you hear me okay? I'm going to take you through the vision, framework, and planning principles. This is all part of the plan, and we're taking you through it in a sequence. The vision is something we established at the beginning. And as Linda mentioned to you, this was a community-driven process. About 2 years ago, summer of 2009, we spent a lot of time with the community in individual interviews and meetings, and listened and heard what people valued about the downtown area. And the vision came out of what we heard. First, we heard that Main Street is an iconic element of our downtown. It's what people identify throughout the region, perhaps throughout the state with downtown. It has a unique character, it has an energy, it attracts people of the community and from outside the community, and it's essential to the identity of Littleton, indeed the heart of the city. And part of what makes it that is the historic elements, the historic structures, the buildings. Here we show the Littleton Station. And those elements are mostly part of a historic district with a historic preservation board that are stewards of those elements. The light rail is one of the reasons I moved to Littleton 13 years ago. It's that choice of modes of transportation that I think we're just beginning to see the benefits of. The neighborhoods in the downtown area really support the character, bringing residential and other types of uses that support Main Street and the downtown area. The Education Center, especially Arapahoe Community College, is a thriving intellectual capital for the downtown, bringing youth and a creative energy to downtown, and we should embrace that. The civic places also support the identity, the iconic courthouse and the Carnegie Library, which is the melting pot, and the the landmarks that are part of the community are essential, again, to preserve, maintain, and support the character. And not least the parks and open spaces, not even so much in downtown. We have Bega Park, we have Geneva Park, we have the Greenway here that you see, but also the connections to the parks in the larger community, to Stern Park and to the South Platte Greenway, that add value in living, working, and playing in the downtown area. These are all essential elements. So then we get into the framework. And the reason we put together a framework, and this slide's a little bit slow, I apologize. Okay. To really identify what are the essential physical elements of the downtown area. And the diagrams are up here. You can peruse afterwards, but I'll take you through them fairly quickly. These are the layers that we look at in physical character. What are the edges of downtown? Well, they're the iconic structures that we talked about. Those are identified on here as the dots, but there's the edges. There's very clear edges for the downtown area. There's the depressed railroad to the east. There's Santa Fe Drive to the west. And there's this sort of football, we call it the football shape, that clearly identifies as a distinct area from the rest of the city. And then there's the two ends of the barbell, the Carnegie Library and the courthouse, and Main Street between them, and they're directly on an axis, and you can see one from the other and back and forth, and they kind of tie that whole the whole physical part of downtown together. The Main Street district is identified as a distinct area, not only the historic Main Street, but the areas south, which are characterized by a number of iconic and historic buildings, and a mixed-use area between Arapahoe Community College and the downtown Main Street area that is changing and redeveloping, but supports both Main Street, the college, the Santa Fe corridor, and the light rail area. We spent a lot of time looking at the downtown residential neighborhood, which we call the old downtown now. A very unique single-family residential area that we heard very loud and clear wants to remain the way it is. And it's unique in that it's a walkable single-family residential neighborhood that's close to a Main Street commercial area that a lot of newer communities like Stapleton and Lowry are trying to emulate now. So we have it. It's been here for a long time. And there's the residential mixed-use areas around the old downtown, north of Main Street, and including the newer Alexan apartments that add a residential, that have the opportunity to add a residential base to this area, add rooftops that then support the commercial areas of Main Street, and they have a mixed-use character already, and probably the biggest opportunities for redevelopment in the downtown. Our government and education centers, both Arapahoe Community College, Arapahoe County Center, and this building, Littleton Town Center, City Center, and the courthouse and the Buck Center area, which aren't really inside the football but are directly related to it. These are employment centers and civic centers that are very valuable to bring people into downtown and add to its energy and vibrancy. There is an industrial area that remains just south of the Alexan development, and that's sort of a remnant of what was here years ago, and perhaps should stay that way. And again, not least, the parks, trails, and open space that help knit it together, tie it to the regional open space, and we're seeing a lot of opportunities to improve recreation there. And the circulation network, which consists of our streets, sidewalks, it's a very multimodal system that we have, and we should build on that. It's about not only moving vehicles, but allowing for bicycles, enhancing pedestrian experience, and allowing for better access to and from transit. So this is sort of the overall framework plan. These layers, these 8 layers, come together into a composite that are sort of our map of the downtown area. So that leads us to the planning principles. And these are, again, coming out of the vision, out of looking at the framework and hearing what the community input was. What are the common values that we have as a city collectively that will guide the decision-making process for any changes downtown? The preservation and enhancement of a small-town character was the highest priority. And you'll hear some goals that are centered on that. That any of the changes that take place involve quality design, not only in the buildings but in the infrastructure. That all changes recognize the need for economic benefit and economic development downtown to maintain a sustainable city center. The public realm is an essential component, and I use public realm broadly to represent not only parks and open space, but the streets and plazas and the spaces between the buildings that are really where life occurs, and that public realm continue to be embraced and embellished and supported. Sustainability, we've heard loud and clear from the community, is an important thing in terms of moving into the 21st century and beyond, and how we accommodate livability downtown, the ability to have different choices for transportation. We support things that save energy and save water and clean water. That connectivity and access is embraced as it is an urban neighborhood. And last but not least, that processes that come out of the planning, the plan and the way we do business are efficient and effective, and those will guide the goals, policies, and implementation strategies that Jenny Ranville will take you through now. Thank you.
In our downtown neighborhood plan, we have 6 sections, and the first is land use and urban design. And the way that this is formatted is the goals presented first, followed with the policy and implementation. And for land use and urban design, we want to continue to have a mixture of land uses that first and foremost promote a vibrant Main Street district, a strong sense of community, the desirability of downtown as a place to live, a diversity of residents, and a stable business environment. And for the policies and implementation, Craig did a great job introducing the various land uses, so I want to start to focus on some of the other areas. And we want to ensure that our development tools and processes for you and the community are consistent and coordinated. And our old downtown neighborhood, I wanted to just again mention that Craig highlighted. We want to retain its existing character. And when it comes to our Main Street district, for the shops on Main Street, the first floor we want to encourage to be retail, and the second floor office and residential uses. And that really has more activity on the street level by doing that. We want to definitely support a diverse mix of housing options for residents of all ages downtown. The Nevada Place Apartments is one of the new residential developments. Height restrictions, we want to respect the historic character. And community events, we definitely want to encourage to happen on Main Street. Land use and building forms, reinforce our principal circulation routes. And we also want to improve our major entries into downtown, especially when people are entering from Santa Fe, to direct them to Main Street where all the businesses and shops are that have a lot of activity. So we want to encourage more people to experience downtown Littleton. And One of the things that has become an elevated area of discussion is lighting, and we want to address that by creating a downtown street and pedestrian lighting plan. Circulation. All parts of downtown will be simple to navigate, easily accessible for pedestrians, bicyclists, drivers, and those who use public transportation. And we are fortunate in the City of Littleton to already have in place our light rail station and many bus stops too. So when we're looking at the policy and implementation, when we talk about streets being designed for multimodal needs, we're not just taking into account vehicles. We're also taking into account the pedestrians, and we are going to be focusing as well on the bicyclists. And implementing the pedestrian bicycle master plan is already underway, so look for improvements. Sidewalks compliant with the American Disabilities Act, and Main Street is well done. Now other areas, other streets adjacent to Main Street, we certainly think have areas for improvement. And we want to ensure that our pedestrian bicycle connections are safe, efficient, and inviting, especially for residents of all ages. Develop a parking program for downtown is a top priority. And that essentially is a strategy to address the unique situations that are happening in downtown Littleton that are different from other parts of the city. And when it comes to parking requirements, that is certainly an area that we are going to be addressing as part of that parking program, and ensure that we have adequate parking for both our present and future needs. Economic development. The goal is downtown will be an important economic generator through public and private cooperation. We certainly want to retain our businesses, but also allow for expansion. We are fortunate to have Arapahoe Community College in downtown Littleton. For economic development, policies, and implementation, downtown should be Littleton's civic center, regional destination, and economic generator. And if there should be any new government, civic, higher education, or cultural facility, we want it to be considered in downtown Littleton. And we certainly want to support our Littleton's Economic Gardening Program. This has been very successful in the City of Littleton. It's known not just within the city, but other cities that I have talked with have mentioned what a great program we have here in Littleton. Provide a business environment that attracts and retains businesses. Stork Preservation. And this is one of our identity pieces for the City of Littleton. We are in a historic downtown, and there are only a few historic downtowns in the Denver metropolitan area. Downtown's authentic historic small-town character will be protected. And you can see in some of the images the Town Hall Arts Center as well as Geneva Lodge. For our policies and implementation, the historic properties are to be identified and protected, and we have an historic preservation board that is actively doing just that. New construction, redevelopment, and rehabilitation of historic structures, we want to complement the historic character, and that is certainly ongoing, and we see renovations happening especially on Main Street and surrounding areas of downtown that are reinforcing that historic character. We want to continue that effort. For parks, trails, and public spaces, the city will maintain its commitment to improve and enhance parks, trails, and public areas, public spaces. We are fortunate to have a number of trail connections and parks in our downtown neighborhood. When it comes to our policies and implementation, the Bega Park, we're going to continue to remain as a passive use park, but Geneva Park, we want to make more family friendly, and we have the space that we believe we can do so, to include a mix of active and passive uses. We also want to encourage more activity along the park edges and expand our parks and trail system, as well as improve our connections to downtown. We have the Mary Carter Greenway, also known as the South Platte Trail, that runs adjacent to downtown. We really want to bring people to not just bike by, but actually come into downtown Littleton and see what is happening, the businesses and shops. And when it comes to sustainability, we really have tried to incorporate principles throughout each section, especially when it comes to transportation. So those areas are already included, but there are other components when it comes to our natural resources that we wanted to highlight. And we really would like the with our city, we want to be the model to communicate sustainable practices. We certainly want to support the public and private sector's effort to improve the built environment. And when it comes to sustainability, we really want to incorporate those principles throughout the city ordinances. And the city's environmental action plan, we'd like to update with new goals and actions that are specifically addressing downtown. And there are some focus areas in the environmental action plan that are very good. Energy, waste, air quality, water quality. Those are components that we would like to see more adequately addressed also downtown. And we'd like to improve on the communication as far as a link on the city's website to provide information for sustainable technologies. And the Littleton Sustainability Awards program we think would be very helpful to initiate to recognize successful green buildings. And essentially when it comes to sustainability, really the idea is to hand off the city to the next generation in a better state than it is today. Thank you. And I wanted to call attention to one other component which is in your handouts. I know you've received several handouts, but there in the back of the handout that has the heights has a summary of the implementation for the various areas that we are looking at in the city. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. Thank you.
So the meeting format for tonight's meeting, it is a public hearing, so we encourage you to sign up to speak in the back there. And the chair will open the public hearing, at which time we'll invite all of your comments, and we'll allow 3 minutes to provide your input. And at this point, we will not allow ceding of time. If time allows at the end of the hearing, the Planning Commission may hear additional comments as time allows. And we also have comment cards in back there that are available for you to provide any kind of written comments. And the deadline to provide comments is tonight's public hearing. In terms of what happens after tonight's public hearing is that we'll consolidate all of your input from this hearing. We'll compile it by the city staff and for the Planning Commission's consideration next Monday, September 26th, in which we'll talk about all of the public comments and then put together a presentation to the City Council who will actually ratify the actual document at the regular meeting on October 4th at 7 o'clock in this room. So that is our format. So if you give me a second to go back to the dais, then we'll start our public hearing. And we really appreciate everybody coming out and providing their input tonight. So this is a public hearing, and first on our roster is Greg Reinke, and he does not know if he favors the project, and he does wish to speak. So Greg?
Hi there. Ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Commission, staff. First, my name is Greg Reinke.
Greg, could you just pull the microphone around? Thanks.
Usually you're the first one to hear me all the time. I'm at 5663 South Prince Street, and I own a business down here in Littleton, and I am also the president of the Historic Preservation, the Downtown Historical Merchants Association, which has 110 members. I'm going to read verbatim from this, just so that I don't veer, because I think this is really important to us. And so we'll just start up. First, I want to thank the City of Littleton and the Planning Commission for the time and effort that has been put into the Downtown Neighborhood Plan. I appreciate very much the section devoted to economic development and the recognition that the success of the business district and the city are tied together in public-private partnerships. Tonight, I'd like to address section ED 3-B of the plan. That's the review of the city's regulations and procedures for the impact on providing an attractive business environment, make necessary revisions. I would like to enter into the record and ask to have specifically addressed in the plan the need to update the city's sign ordinance. I know this has been considered in the past, and the staff and budget constraints have prevented comprehensive revision. I believe with the adoption of this plan, the time is now and the process to begin. Of particular concern to the Historic Downtown Littleton Merchants Association is the section of the code for the third-party signs. We believe that to support the significant investment made by the merchants as well as the city in promoting traffic-generating activities, there should be a specific exemption for temporary signs in the downtown neighborhood district which promote events authorized by the association. In addition, we believe that the code should specifically allow the use of corporate slogans and logos on such temporary signs in the context of announcing such corporate support for an event. The ability of the Merchants Association to provide corporate sponsors recognitions will ensure the necessary financial support to provide a sustained program of events that draw traffic into the downtown neighborhood. We consider such recognition as much in the public interest and in the context of a sound policy as it is for entities like public radio and television. A strong business association is required to foster those public-private partnerships which promote the growth and prosperity of the downtown neighborhood districts. Providing a vehicle of recognition will bring outside dollars into Littleton to develop and support a wide range of year-round downtown events. A clear exception in the code will allow the association to develop partnerships with sponsors to underwrite the cost of such events. Thank you for your consideration, and at this time I will accept questions.
Questions? None?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Kent Bagley, and he wishes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Kent Bagley. I reside at 1467 West Briarwood Avenue. It's a pleasure to be back in front of you. As many of you will remember, I was formerly the chairman of the Planning Commission, and in 2008 we initiated the activities of the neighborhood plan for downtown. I want to congratulate both the Planning Commission and the staff for all of their efforts in producing this document. I know it's taken a long time. I'm also want to indicate that I'm very proud to have my effort recognized in the acknowledgement section that I participated for approximately a year in your efforts. So that's very exciting for me. In comments that I wanted to make, I would say that no plan is perfect, but I think this is a great start. And I think what it does, it provides more surety to citizens who don't necessarily embrace change, and also to property owners and entities that are doing redevelopment or development where there are greenfields, who want to mitigate risk. It's the whole issue of change and risk for various entities. And what this plan does, it provides a guideline and a framework for both stability and change that will occur downtown. Downtown is not etched in concrete, and it will change over time, and it has changed in the last 4 years while the plan was being developed, and it will change again, and that will be dependent to some extent on what happens with our national and global economy. One of the things that I find that is really important here is that it calls for regular monitoring and adjustment as needed. This is a vital component and must be looked at by the city and the Planning Commission on a regular basis. The plan took 4 years roughly to complete, and this is a long period of time, and I think in any other efforts for small area plans or neighborhood plans, you cannot take 4 years. Should not be over a year to do these kinds of efforts. As part of the effort in 2012, Littleton must, absolutely must apply for urban center designation for downtown with the Denver Regional Council of Governments. This is imperative. Everything that you showed on your slideshow demonstrates that this is a vital place in the region, and it needs to be part of that framework for the region. I think that the plan has a very ambitious implementation plan attached to it, which I perceive to be very difficult to deliver. But I say at least it provides a schedule, which I know, because it's a plan, can be modified. I think that one thing that needs to be remembered by the citizens of Littleton, the Planning Commission, the City Council, is that this downtown neighborhood plan is no substitute for an overall new comprehensive plan for the City of Littleton. Why is that so? The previous plan, or what's known as comp plan, was approved in 1981. That's 30 years ago. No progressive city takes 30 years to revise its comprehensive plan, even though this document that we have tonight is a critical component of that. It started in 1977, or roughly that time. So we're talking about 34 years ago. And why do I say that? There are changes in demographics that are being looked at by the Denver Regional Council of Governments in their 2035 plan. Transportation has significantly changed. All we have to do is look at light rail coming to Littleton, the expansion of light rail, activities at C470 in Santa Fe. There are significant changes. Economic issues regionally and nationally, and really the massive changes that are occurring in the southwestern metropolitan area, of which Littleton is a major part, and it's absolutely critical that these things be looked at in a more overall perspective. That's the extent, and I appreciate your time, and I wish you good luck in getting this approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing it right, Nancy Stauf-Tack. And she favors the project, but she does not wish to speak. Is that still the case? Okay. So we'll go on to the next person. It's Jeff Kelly, and does not know if he favors the project and does not wish to speak. Is that still the case? Okay. And now we have Patrick Mccarron? Mccarron, and there's nothing, you don't indicate whether you want to speak? Mm-hmm. So would you want to speak? Yes, please. If you would state your name and your address.
Patrick Mccarron.
When you get to the microphone, please.
My name is Patrick Mccarron, 5549 South Curtis. It's actually the house pictured in your brochure. So, like a lot of people in Littleton, I moved here in '97 for a lot of the same reasons you did. The central downtown, historic district, had a wonderful feel. It was close to everything I wanted to be close to. Access to downtown via bike path was very important to me. Access to Chatfield was very important. Some of the things that were evolving in Littleton was very exciting back in the early 90s, which is why we moved here. We found a nice little bungalow that was kind of trashed. We thought we could fix it up, maintain the historic feel of the neighborhood, make it look nicer over the years, and kind of have a strong investment and be part of a good downtown community. We loved Curtis Street because it was isolated from the main flow of something like Prince, and yet very close to where we wanted to be for Western Welcome Week, the Christmas parade, all the things that people remember from outside of Littleton that come and talk to me about it, wanting to come down and see that. I think I've done a good job preparing my house, making it fit in. A lot of people in our neighborhood that I've talked to are the same way. The Gold's across the street, the one Noyes is next door to me. A lot of people who know Lou, who also works at Terracotta, has fixed up his house and rebuilt it after the fire. So there's a lot of people that are very interested in investing in the area and making it retain its historic district feel. We like the idea that we're not like Highlands Ranch, where you can accidentally pull into the wrong house if you're tired one night. Lately, I've seen some things that have concerned me, which is why I'm glad that I'm seeing this plan, because I wanted to see where we're going. Because I'm at a point where I'm wondering, do I invest more in my house, or do I look at moving? what I've seen in the last several years is historic houses in the neighborhood that were farmhouses, that were houses that were hand-built. I remember when I first moved in, the lady across the street had lived in the house since she was 3 when the house was first built, and told me she watched my house being built in 1930. These are the kind of houses that we want to retain here. I've seen these houses turned into commercial houses, so I was really confused about the zoning, and there was a push early on to make this a historical district, and I remember that kind of fell flat a long time ago. There's been a lot of commercial buildings. A lot of the buildings have become rentals. These rentals have very predictably become more degraded houses, people that don't keep them up. A house that I have right next door to me that used to be a very beautiful house is now just a rental that has no grass, has a solid rock driveway, and is not appealing in the neighborhood anymore. So we're very concerned about that. We've seen the beautiful elms that line the street that had diseases over years slowly be cut down. I think there's only 2 left. And this was a district that used to have a strong history of being an orchard, apple orchards from way back. And I think the trees along that area have been totally neglected. So that was another thing. And then the final thing just recently is the parking. We've seen Merle's come in. We've seen, I'll wrap it up right here.
30 seconds.
We've seen the parking become really troublesome. I now have a 1-year-old, and it's gotten to a point where my wife comes home and we have to park 3 blocks away just to get into our house. So these are all concerns we have. So I'm very excited about the plan. I'm very excited to see that you've isolated the old downtown neighborhood and that you want to maintain that, and that makes me feel good about my investment and continue to keep improving it. So I'll go back to the neighborhood and let people know. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, the next we have Paul Bingham. Okay. So next we have Val and John Watson, and they do not wish to speak. They don't know whether they favor the project. Do they still not wish to speak? Okay. So that takes us to, I think it's a Mr. Drake. Dave Drake. Yeah, would you like to speak, or? Okay. So you're in favor of the project? Okay. Next is Pam Chadbourne. And you do wish to speak? And it says whether you favor the project, it's amended.
So I'm Pam Chadbourne. I live at 5402 South Nevada Street. It's at the, I'm across from the Essex House and between 2 dentists. And I'm going to echo what a lot of people have already said. Thank you for your time and effort. This was quite a difficult process, and I really appreciate everybody sticking with it and working to get this done. I think it's a good beginning. Other people have said that too. But I'd like changes before it progresses. And I want to echo what Kent Bagley said. We need a Littleton general plan. Some other cities call it that, but comp plan, whatever we want to call it. We need definitions of the next 10 and 20-year milestones for retail, residential, and transit, and with quantities. I want a concept of what you folks think are going to be around in terms of business, and I'd like financial numbers too. Even if it's a range or a bracket, how can you make a plan if you don't know the financial areas and the concentrations of people? I know that a lot of people believe downtown is going to be more densely populated. Give us some numbers. Let us know where those are at. Let us see whether the plan meets what those predictions are. And I realize it's hard, but unless you put it down, we can't even tell if we're on track. It is good to change a plan, and you've got to, but how do you know when you're going to without these kind of targets? And if you're not meeting them, then you know you need to adjust your trajectory. So I think that we probably have to pass something now, but I'm going to suggest a more constrained plan, not a more open one, so that we don't get development that we'll be sorry for later. And you folks know me as the squeaky wheel, so I'm not going to change tonight. I love the diverse housing mix. It's something I've felt was lacking. I'm so glad it's there. Mention of sustainability, and I want that to go further. And mentioning the downtown lighting plan, I'm very grateful. But it is a first step. So the goals that I wanted to mention for amendment have to do with, and I've said this to the Planning Commission before, it's the first and second things I said, quality of life and protect the residents. I need to see protection of property values for residents. Proportionately, our property values are far more important to us than $1 million investments with, a $10,000 investment in something. We've got to see protection of our property values. I want to see improvement of our quality of life, most stable occupation by both renters and owners. We want that. I like renters. I don't have anything against them. And we need them. And I think the future needs them. So let's make a place where they want to live. Specifically, I would like policies and implementations to mitigate noise and light from Santa Fe. It's especially important to the old downtown neighborhood, Curtis Street. And in fact, in a way, that's not a pleasant residential neighborhood because of that. And the parking goes right along there. Merle's, the tavern, and now the new development that's approved at Bradford, those folks already have parking problems. Let's get a direction for parking solutions. It's got to be there. Let's see. And I'd like to specifically exclude installation of any more acorn-like so-called pedestrian streetlights north of downtown. Let's just stop those acorns north of downtown. Let's get the streetlight study done and think about not wasting light for the future.
30 seconds.
Thank you. I'd also like a limit on the number of units per building in residential developments. Nevada Place is interesting, but it is, to me, a barracks. It is a wall. You have no visibility through there, and if you're a person who lives on the other side of Prince, your sun is blocked off in the evening, and you can't see through. That's awful. And then visual and sound mitigation between developments. More space. Nevada Place is a bad example of this, and so is Prince Street Commons. Don't build out to the side, especially these things that go up 30 feet. And I had specific comments about the specific things. I'll send those. And I also have a revised height plan. The revised height plan doesn't go, in my case, east-west. It goes north-south so that you can preserve the view.
Time.
So thanks very much again for your work and consideration.
And the next is Bobby Sheffield. And thank you. So Bobby Sheffield is in favor of the plan. We'll next go to Kim Glidden. And you do not wish to speak, but you are in favor of the plan? Sure you don't want to speak? All right, next we have Kim Waltz. And there's nothing to... Okay. The next we have Carl Berry from Aberdeen Village, and you do not wish to speak? Okay. And, pardon? And then now we have Dave Randall.
Good evening. I'm David Randall. I've got a lifetime connection to the city, and I had a couple of thoughts on here, although I've not studied this as completely as I'd like. Generally, I think that the way it's working right now, that downtown has done really well without any kind of an updated plan, is on the road to improvement and has done real well. So I'm not sure that any drastic measures are needed. One quick thing that I thought on page 14 of this, where there was established a sunset provision that applied to and incorporated all approvals for applications of rezoning and development. If the development is not started in a given time frame, the city can, at its discretion, extend or not extend the time frame. And I think that that could cause problems for somebody who is running into delays for finance, for example, and not knowing whether the city would pull the rug out from under them or not, if they could just unilaterally decide to change the approval on a rezoning. Mostly I wanted to talk about the sustainability aspect of this, which is language that I don't care for at all. When I look through here and I see the 7 goals in this, I can pretty much go through those and understand what was intended. I can understand small town character, quality design, economic development, public realm, connectivity and access and process. But what does sustainability mean? Sustainability is such a broad term and is so vague that it really has a recipe for mischief. There is an entire sustainability movement on that is partly very radical and partly just people interested in recycling or energy efficiency or whatever. So when you have the requirements in this with a really poorly defined sustainability definition, I think that that section ought to be relooked at and defined as to what in the heck you mean by sustainability, because this has broad implications if you get into the more radical issues agenda of some of the sustainability people. So you focus areas, and this is on sustainability principles should be integrated throughout the city's regular operations, planning, and civil works. Focus areas include but not limited to energy use, waste management, water, and so forth in this. But what is the not limited to aspect of this? And I think if you don't mean these broader aspects of sustainability that may be mischievous, it would be wise to determine what in the heck is an award going to be for sustainability.
30 seconds.
And that would be mine to redefine that in less broad terms than it appears here. If you look at in the back, the definition is tied to a United Nations 1987 thing, and that definition is equally ambivalent. So I would urge you to change that and maybe remove that entire section.
Thank you, Dave. And I have no more names on the public hearing roster. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Norm?
Norm Brown. I live on Spotswood, just south of Stern Park. I have some understanding of the time involved. Thank you, commissioners, for everything you did. A couple things I noticed. I believe it's on page 46, near the end. You've got a picture of Kettering Park labeled just east of the railroad. I would urge you to maybe substitute a picture of Stern Park. It's been discussed as far as connectivity over to Stern Park, improving pedestrian and bike access that now is pretty much going across Alamo, which is uncomfortable with the proximity of traffic, and along Prince, where you encounter bicycles and the students from the School for the Blind and people running with their big white dog occasionally in the morning. So that, of course, is a prime location for better access to downtown away from traffic. The other thing that I was going to comment on that had occurred to me regarding a lighting plan, there's been some discussions. The process now usually involves the DRC, the Design Review Committee, and that's entirely an internal city function. So it's somewhat piecemeal, not integrated very well with the lighting ordinance, and I think a lighting plan applicable to the whole city would be a good thing to address next, and that way you can cover this. The city just passed an update to the lighting ordinance and amended the recommended, the staff recommendations. I'm not sure that process was completely thought out. There was a lot of comment, but the process did complete that night, and despite a recommendation to continue that hearing, I think a lighting plan for the city would address some of those and perhaps come up with a better overall concept than the incidental activities of the DRC on a piecemeal basis, which I know got Ms. Chadbourne involved in the first place. and that's the only things I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have to write quickly here. Anybody else that would like to address? So if you'd state your name and where you live.
Hi, I'm Val Watson, 4500 West Hinsdale Avenue. Thank you all. I'm on the FAC, so I know what you guys go through to put all this together, so thank you. My concern is that you're asking us to approve something that includes the bicycle master plan, and there is no description of what that is. And me being a bicycle person who rides the bike paths, comes into downtown, I have to chain my bike to a pole. I'd really like to know what that is before I really say yay. You guys did fabulous. And that is my biggest issue. There's no direction off of Platt. There is one by the Kiss the Frog, or Waiting for the Kiss, that directs you into downtown. And nobody knows where that frog is. No one knows how to get downtown. 90% of the people I talk to don't even know that there's a bike path into downtown. And if you really want to, there are thousands of people on that bike path every day. And we want to encourage them to come into Littleton to spend their money to see what our city is all about. And I really think we need to figure that out before we really go and say, yeah, this is great. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Pam, come up to the microphone if you want to ask your question.
I'm Chapter again. So I've already spoken. If there's an opportunity, can I add another comment?
Yeah, let's see if there's anybody else first that would like to speak, and then we'll provide people who've spoken already an additional opportunity. So anybody else would like to make comments? Seeing none, Pam, do you want to?
Yeah, thanks. I obviously had more things. In the City Council candidate forum that we just had next door, I had included this in my comments, and I was really gratified to hear at least two of them echo this thought. We have aging homes, and I would really like the city to, and we don't have new space, new development. We've got infill development or people maintaining their homes, as Patrick alluded to. And I would really like it if the city would have a resource that I could call to say, I'd like advice about solar energy or solar panels or wind energy, or how do I replace my concrete, which is breaking up, or let's see, tons of landscaping, drainage, green alternatives to landscaping, all of that stuff. And an award for green design is nice, and it's a good start. But I really could use, personally, a resource on the city who I could call. And I'm not the only one in the old downtown neighborhood, as Patrick alluded to. There's a lot of homeowners who need help with their homes. So if the city had that kind of resource, I could use it. A lot of us there could use it. I think it'd be a great investment for the city. So wanted to pass along that the candidate said that. I noted it too. So let's go beyond the Green Award and get somebody on staff who can help.
Okay. And Pam, can you actually put your height map that you came up with your ideas in the comment box tonight?
Okay.
Okay.
Or would you rather I send it in email to staff? Oh.
If you can get it, we're closing the comments at the end
Okay.
of the public hearing, so if you can just submit it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Phil?
I was going to take the opportunity, since there was a few moments. Phil Cernanek, 8012 South Cedar Street, not in the neighborhood of the downtown. Wanted folks to be aware of, because many of the folks here are in older homes that are in the neighborhood, is the Historic Preservation Board was mentioned. They are having a workshop on October 15th at the Littleton Museum. It has 4 sections to it. The details are going to be included in the Littleton report that should be hitting folks' homes, but it's essentially between 10 and 2. It covers items like how do you deal with a window in an old home. It also deals with some of the issues of tax credits that folks may have. And so there are 4 sections. It was mentioned late in the meeting on Tuesday night at the council, but wanted folks to be aware of it.
Okay.
Other than that, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. And I know that we could infinitely increase your pay and it wouldn't have much impact. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else that wishes to speak? Go ahead.
Mccarron again, 5549 South Curtis. I briefly just want to echo what Val Watson had just said about the bicycle plan. I'm an avid cyclist myself. If you, anytime during the summer, are at Hudson Gardens Cafe or Riverside Downs now, there's tons of cyclists spending tons of money at these places. And if there was an easy way to guide these people in, you would solve 2 problems. An influx of tourists coming in without exacerbating the parking problem. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? So that means Planning Commission, we can vote to close the public hearing. Okay, are we ready? And the vote is to close the public hearing. All those in favor? And that is everybody in favor. So we really appreciate everybody coming out tonight, and thank you for your comments. And stay tuned to the City Council meeting in the first week of October. Thank you. And if you'd like to catch us at the end of the meeting, we should be around for a few minutes. So Planning Commission, since we've closed the public hearing, should we have discussion now or wait till our Monday meeting to start the discussion?
Well, Steve's not going to be able to attend the Monday night meeting. So Steve, if you have anything you'd like to reflect on from what you heard tonight, either casually before the comments or during the comment section?
No, I'm planning on getting my comments all together, and I will send it to Dennis for Monday.
Okay. So, Glenn, would you recommend that we go ahead and do our discussion next Monday on all the comments we received? I mean, personally, I'd like to think about everything that everybody's discussed today and how that would apply and how we can put some things within the comp plan. Dave?
I feel if we made the decisions right now off of the comments here, we would be negatively impacting the comments that were given us without if we didn't put a whole lot of thought to them.
Yeah, I agree.
And I might note, just for the record, that the planning commissioners have been given some comments that have been submitted ahead of the meeting, so we're going to have to be considering those, including, thankfully, a couple of comments from city staffers supplementing their input that we've been collecting for the last 3 years as the plan has developed. I assume that's everything we've gotten through tonight, Dennis?
We also have some additional comments from additional staff that I will consolidate. It was just looked at, made comments in the plans themselves, so I need to pull those
Okay.
together.
And you and Linda, or somebody made presentations, or at least were attending the HPB meeting and Hoodlum, so we've got some.
We have comments from them as well.
Okay, great. So we'll need to consider those before we actually have a final discussion. I assume we'll get those before Monday night's meeting?
Yeah, sure will.
Great.
Absolutely.
That's all I had.
Okay. Craig?
Yeah, I just wondered, there was an open question about the bicycle master plan that wasn't specifically addressed in this plan because it's an ongoing process, and I'm not sure if there's an update on where that process is at, but since it hasn't been adopted yet, this plan really just refers to supporting the recommendations that come out of it.
In the bicycle master plan is really kind of a work plan for the department. There is an update based on the comments they got at the last public meeting that they had, so there is an update for that.
All right.
Anything else, Planning Commission? So we need a motion to continue our discussion to Monday, next Monday, September 26th.
So moved that we continue this discussion to our meeting on the 26th.
Do we have a
Second.
All right, all those in favor? And that's everyone in favor? And that takes us to the conclusion of our meeting. And so do we have a motion for adjournment? Or does anybody else have anything to mention? No?
I move we adjourn.
Do you have a second? Second. All those in favor? That's everyone. Again, thank you, everybody. And if you have any extra comments, just catch any one of us at the end of this meeting. Thank you.